Start over again.
All right, well, let's just do it again.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TFG Radio, truncated version. Danny is here with me today
Hey.
because Danny is the only truly dedicated to the show. Unlike Tom and John.
I'm gonna say I think there's a common denominator between the both of them. I'm not gonna say it, but I think we all know what I mean.
I know.
Who's here putting in the hard work, regardless of the circumstances?
Regardless of the work environment or the pesticides.
That's right.
So a bit of a short show. It is SoCal Open this weekend, so we'll talk briefly. Again, SoCal Open. This past weekend we had the
GW Tampa
event, a large 3-day event by GW. I think they had about 300 people. And,
okay, that's good. That's sizable.
Yeah. So, and out of all that, Sisters of Battle won. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely took me by surprise. I think it's a double whammy of its Sisters of Battle, which I don't think have podiumed anything major since 10th dropped, and then it's also a person who's not like a name on the scene, right? Like he's not, he beat Harpster, which is not easy to do, and this isn't a guy who, to my knowledge, has like a large following or a big podcast or anything like that, or a Patreon or a coaching service. So, it is honestly rare at this point that you see people win events who aren't in the kind of weird media ecology we've created for our hobby. So it's cool. It's good. Like, I think that's overall net positive. But I have no idea how his sisters lists work. I see like 2 castigators in it, 1 unit of nun bots with, all the named characters. Like it's just, it's interesting. So I would love to actually, if they've recorded any of his games, to like sit down and be able to watch some of them just to see how he played the list, what he, kind of essentially what he did.
I'm pretty sure the finals were recorded but it's on. I think you have to be a supporter for GW on Twitch in order to watch it.
Oh, okay. Well,
so you
I don't know if I'm going to go that far.
Yeah, you have to be a subscriber in order to watch the replay anyway. But hopefully he'll be at LVO in a couple months. That way we can see how it works. He may be known locally and just not known on a national scale, at least for the U.S., if not a global scale.
Yeah, I meant no shade whatsoever by it. Like, I mean, he could definitely be a name in his scene, but just think about how often people who win large events, especially at the 300 plus event, are someone that it's kind of the usual list of suspects, right? People who play for a national team, people who have a large podcast or a coaching service or et cetera, right? The quote unquote pro players. So I think it's good. It shows that, especially, I think that's actually a really good sign for 10th edition. If kind of, a person who's not necessarily big into the scene can come out and win, especially with a faction like Sisters of Battle, which hasn't really done much lately. Yeah. So, good on them.
Did you happen to see second place, Danny?
I believe it was World Eaters, which I still can't totally wrap my head around especially because it's heavy on 8-bound, right? Like it's heavy on 8-bound. It's got, it's a much more balanced list than like what I was running. But like it's a good aggressive list. It has a unit of berserkers and a unit of jackals to get those icons, right? So excuse me, so I didn't sneeze in mic. That's why I'm a pro. But so you get more of the rerolls. You get a little bit more of the a little bit more reliability to get the blood type that you want.
Yeah.
It's a very aggressive list. It still has the move forward with the 8-bound, right? So like you're kind of scouting forward and can be in a position to first turn charge. So I see it working. I'm just surprised that it worked over how many games they play? Like 8?
It's like 8 or 9. I think it's 8.
Yeah.
If he played the shadow round, then it's 9.
Yeah, so for me, that just is surprising just because I feel like that list really relies on, going first in the matchups you need to go first against and going second in the matchups you need to go second against. And, it's just you play 8 or 9 games, it's just math is against you on that. You're you're going to have a bad first turn, right? You're
Yeah,
going to go.
well, you have to remember it's on GW terrain. So GW terrain is very infantry. It favors infantry a lot.
No, that's true. I mean, that's
So
absolutely something that World Eaters get a huge benefit from. But still, I mean, and the point drops obviously help because you get a lot more out of that list now that almost
yeah,
everything in there is cheaper. So you're putting more bodies. But again, I'm just from my experiences playing World Eaters that it was a lot of there were a lot of factors involved that are really come down to dice rolls. And I'm sure I forgot who's playing it. Um,
it was. I'm not gonna make me look.
As someone I know, I mean, it's a name that wasn't totally unfamiliar to me.
No, I can't remember. They put the list, but not the name. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure again, high skill level player. I'm
Oh,
sure,
it
so
was
they made the most of that.
no. Quentin played Eldari.
I don't know.
Jeffrey. Yeah, they don't put the name. They just put who the second place was. I'd have to look.
Yeah, but I mean, either way, like great for them. It gives me hope for World Eaters again, and it's just astounding that first is Sisters of Battle, second is World Eaters. I mean, that's a pretty big meta shift
Was
for a
it Jack
300
Harpster?
person event.
Was it Jack Harpster?
Maybe it
Maybe.
might have
I don't
been.
know. That's who he beat in the final. So I'm assuming it was Jack.
Okay,
Jack
so if
taking
it's,
the
I
win.
mean, so again, that's why it's doing well is because it's Harpster, right? Like he's an amazing player,
What are you talking
and I'm
about?
sure he knows how to get all that
I'm
stuff out
sure
of
I could
there.
take the exact same list and do just as well. It's fine.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. You keep believing that, buddy. That's
That's
why.
why. That's
You know
why I
what I
keep asking.
appreciate about you?
Oh my good looks.
Yeah, that kind of bravado, man, it gets you far in life. The
Yeah.
audacity,
I mean,
audacity gets you really far in
it
life.
it
You just got
does.
to go for it.
It does actually. But it's when the rubber meets the road that really can put a kink into the plans. Um, as you mentioned, Danny, there seem to be a lot more armies in the mix, and the Metawatch article also came out today as the day of recording, and the GW's meta data seems to show that also with a lot of the armies in that what they want, which is the 45 to 55% win rate, with only
Oh,
three armies on as the outliers, being Eldari and Orc surprisingly on top, and then Drukhari on the bottom. But I mean, you also have, I mean, let's be honest, you have one, two, three, four other armies that are like on the cusp of the bottom end, like at forty six
right.
percent. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, technically they're in the range, but which
I
is
mean,
Astra Militarum, Grey Knights, Custodes, which is a huge drop from before the data slate, and Blood
over
Angels.
nerfed.
Yeah, and Blood Angels.
So what is that? That's actually a lot of melee armies, right? Like Custodes is like a
Uh,
melee
Custodes,
army.
Blood Angels, Grey Knights. You can say Grey Knights are
Yeah.
melee. Imperial Knights is not.
No, but I mean, just again, knights in general either going they're either going to be too good or they're not going to be good enough as
Right.
with their kind of built-in handicaps of like navigating terrain and stuff like that, right? And model count. So I'm not, I feel like knights is always one of those things of can't we can't totally fixate on them. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'd be interested to see what the stat check guys say about it, right? Because I know that their data set tends to be a little bit different. Um, but still, I feel like it'd be very hard to argue at this point that the balanced data slate didn't positively impact the meta, right? Like it didn't add more variety and diversity to the
Right. No,
game,
no, no. I don't think
right?
anybody's arguing that. I think it's just a matter of how
I mean,
much
I
did
think it.
how much did it shift the
I mean,
balance of power, so to speak.
I think it did a good amount. I think Custodes obviously is they really need to give them back their language that they just have their 5+ feel no pain against any kind of mortal wounds, right? Or anything, or including dev wounds, right? Like
That was
um,
4+.
or 4+. I think they need to give them that back because that was
Yeah.
such a kind of faction feature.
Yeah, I don't know
No,
about
I
that.
mean it's just, but when you only have a handful of models, right? Like I just feel like if they're going to lean into the super elite, whatever, but it's real clear they got nerfed into the fucking ground.
Right.
Eldar's still good, right? Because Eldar's just Eldar's usually just good. Um, so I think it's fine. I mean, I think there's clearly power builds. We'll see if Space Marines moves the needle on anything. I haven't seen any chatter yet about like, oh man, here's the new hot Space Marine build. Because like in what, eighth, when Iron Hand, like when the codex dropped, like everyone knew immediately Iron Hands was OP, right? Like there were like 3 or 4 builds that were real clear, or like this is really good, and we're not seeing that out of Space Marines or Tyranids yet.
Maybe.
Really, what are you hearing? I haven't really heard anything.
There's a detachment that allows you to infiltrate an infantry unit, which
Aggressors, Centurions,
can include Deathwing Terminators.
Okay.
So you have a brick of 10 that you can infiltrate at the start of the game, and there's some other shenanigans. I think each one is really good, or well, is good from what I'm hearing, the chatter that I'm hearing. But I don't think any of them are like on Eldar level good.
Yeah, no, I mean, scanning through the codex, like I didn't see anything that was like, holy shit, like this is gobsmackingly good. As the White Scar player for my one Space Marine army, advancing charge is cool. I think it's against fluff, but Brutalist Dreadnoughts really get out of that. Except melee's not great anyway, and there's so few mounted units. I mean, I could see doing a spam list of just like just 30 assault intercessors with jump packs, right? Like just first turn, just clog the board with bodies, right? Like clog the center, get in there and just be annoying as hell, and then just score points.
We are allowing the Space Marine Codex for SoCal Open this weekend, so
yeah, I'm super excited to see how it plays out.
We'll see what people have. We'll see what ideas people have for their armies, and we'll see what they actually bring and how they perform. I don't have the numbers, the breakdown of in terms of percentages, but the day
I'm sure we'll get that soon.
I'll see it.
Yeah.
Once people show up, because people can put their list in, but a lot of times they may not show up for one reason or another, whether they're sick or
it happens.
Feeling it. So,
COVID's still a thing. It's kind of going around. So
yeah, I'm looking at the stat check, and it's somewhat similar. At least the bottom portion is similar to what GW is showing.
Right.
Except they have Blood Angels at the very bottom instead of Drukhari, but Drukhari is like right above.
Surprised me.
And they have the same bottom. It's Blood Angels, Drukhari, Custodes, Imperial Knights. So
okay, yeah, this all tracks.
Top is a little more varied. They don't have Eldar as high up, but
who's top for them?
They have Orcs, which was at basically number 2 on GW's Metawatch.
Right.
So they also have Thousand Sons, Templars, Leagues of Votann, Chaos Knights.
Votan's good,
which is kind of tracking with it's the top like 5 or 6 are kind of the same.
Okay, so I mean, the data is we can argue final points of it and final rankings. It seems like the data is relatively consistent. That there's a decent amount of variety. Obviously, still some stronger than others. Like I'm pretty sure Chaos Knights is buoyed by the 13 dog list.
Yeah, everyone's taking the little knights. CSM seems to be doing well. I don't know which list exactly, but I mean,
probably Obliterators and Abbey to some, and
maybe
mix and change.
I'm thinking of trying to just flood the board with a cultist and a cursed cultist.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
I don't know. It having played against Tom's Tau, which is what he's taking to SoCal.
Right. I couldn't convince him to do Votann, even though I won that game.
I don't know. Well, that could be a Tom thing. That could not necessarily be an army thing.
Yeah, well, he again, like many Tau players, he misplayed by being very by trying to castle too much, right? And especially now, Tau don't have like a super huge amount of ability to extend board control. So if you spend 2 turns kind of castled up, killing stuff and mitigating your damage, you just get outscored so much that you can't catch back up, right? I think you have to a good Tau list. You have to play fixed, right? Like I think if you really want to be competitive and win, you have to play fixed because you have to build around with Vespids and Crute Hounds of like I'm going to score these easy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to score table quarters or behind enemy lines or whatever it is, right? Like I'm going to get my 40 points.
Right.
And that way I can fall behind on the primary for 2 turns and then kick the shit out of you on, turns 3, start scoring points again on 3, 4, and 5 and close the gap.
Yeah, that sounds about
Um,
right.
yeah, but Votan's still real good. That was a fun list. I think if I had all the money in the world, I'd do a much more spammy version of it, which is all just vehicles. Like their vehicles are amazing. They're just so durable and do a lot of
Right.
damage. And the bikes, and basically vehicles and 18 bikes is a
Yeah.
pretty solid list.
So you spoke a little bit about the Space Marine Codex. I mentioned the one. I forget which detachment it is. It's the Raven Guard one that allows the infiltrate. So you play them as Dark Angels, and you just infiltrate 10 Deathwing Knight Terminators, and you're good to go. So I think all of the detachments are viable. It just depends on your play style, and then the Gladius is still good even with the nerfed at the moment. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm curious to see what shows up on this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, it is SoCal Open. It is the last event before the Las Vegas Open. A few notes: if you are going, if you're listening to this on your drive to San Diego, don't forget to check in on BCP before you get to the hall, or before you check in. You can check in 24 hours before the event, and that makes it a lot easier and a lot hopefully start on time, especially if you want to get your army paint judged. And that's going to be Saturday morning from 8 to 9:45, and the round will start at 10 o'clock. Also, don't forget.
Yeah, I gotta be there so early.
You're coming in your own car. You don't have to be there that early.
Well, I have to
Oh,
paint
wait, you
judge.
do. If you've never been before, it is in basically an airport airline hangar, essentially. Literally next to the beach. It's really nice. You do have to pay to get into the parking area. I believe it was. I think it was like 10 or $15.
Yeah, it's $10. Yeah.
So don't forget to bring some cash. I think they take card now. I remember the first few years they only took cash,
I think so.
but I'm pretty sure they take card. Food is overpriced. Don't tell Kicker I said that.
I always recommend having a cooler in your car
Plenty of
for
bathrooms.
whatever you would need for the day.
Space. There's plenty of space. So
Oh God, yeah.
Butts to nuts in the venue, which is nice. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the Frontline event FAQ and double check any questions that may have changed. Answers may have changed. So it will be important to get to brush up on some of the questions that may have asked, or they may have been updated with new information. I know there's a couple that I had updated after talking with a few people, such as shooting out of combat for Overwatch for vehicles, and what was the other one? Yvrain going into a transport. Was it Yvrain or the Yinkarn? One of those things. One of those Eldar weird things. But especially for your army, check and see if there's any questions that might change the way you play or how you approach the game. Again, we start at round starts at 10. Make sure you're there on time, and have fun. I don't think there's anything else. I think there are a couple questions that came out that everyone keeps on asking, even after I already answered it. One of them, which apparently was a big thing, is the damage with a modifier like the Melta weapon.
Oh, right, Melta, yeah.
We are going with the total divide by 2 for half damage abilities.
Right.
The other option that people argue for is the damage divide by 2, and then you add the
Right, 2 plus
2,
whatever. Yeah.
which is kind of the way that the stratagem, like the Vect and the Calidus stratagem work, which is
Right.
Go to 0 and then you add the modifier. So
Right.
I think we have a clarification from GW, but it doesn't really give you a solid answer in regards to the melt shot.
Yeah, for me, I think the logic that follows most consistently is if you're in Melta, your damage D6. If you're in Melta range, your damage profile becomes D6 plus 2 or whatever, right? So your damage, what your actual damage score is, you have to roll for, and you see it, and now this D6 becomes, D6 plus 2 becomes, 8. Let's say roll 6 becomes 8.
Yeah.
That becomes your damage. Your weapon is now damage 8 because your damage is first a formula you have to solve. Then you apply the half damage, right? Then you apply the modifier of -1 damage or half damage. Because otherwise, you'd be arguing, oh, well, if I say half damage and you're on a, D6, then, it has, really your damage D3. And it's like, well, you're actually a D6 divided by 2, which is functionally the same thing as a D3, but not the same. Right.
I mean, we'll revisit it after SoCal, and we'll discuss it with the other judges and other people that I talk to.
Yeah, and we can always ask GW them if they can offer a better clarification, right? Like just a very specific clarification of, can you do an example involving Melta, right?
Right. Well, I mean, that goes hand in hand with them coming out with a newer FAQ, which we don't know if they're going to come out with one or not.
Yeah. Like their Tyranid FAQ, which was brilliant.
Did they even put one out?
They did. It was one question.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well.
Yep.
So for SoCal Open, it's divided by 2. We'll revisit it afterwards. At this point, because we're past the list deadline, and some people do build lists depending what the rulings are.
Yeah.
We'll just have to stay with this ruling for now until after, basically until Monday. So.
Right. It's an event ruling. It's not a this is.
Yeah, it's not like
everything.
global whatever ruling. It's just a ruling just for this event. So
yeah,
and like anything, opinions can change, and we get as new information comes in, we change the.
It's a sign of intelligence to change your positions once new information has been gathered, right, and processed.
So that once we do that, we'll be set as we get closer to LVO, we'll have more hopefully get more information. Games Workshop in regards to an FAQ, or if it the next 2 books are Admech and Necrons. When are they coming out? Are they going to be before the cutoff? I can't remember. I think they're winter, so they should be coming out either next month or December. Well, I guess they could.
Well, November's not technically winter, so winter's December through February or March, So just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
So we'll see. In addition to SoCal, another thing we're going to be doing, which I haven't told Danny yet, we're going to try.
I don't like where this is going already. I'm just going to put that out there. Not feeling confident in what's happening.
As people know, SoCal is usually a trial for LVO. We're going to try to have a QR code for people to use if they want a judge without having to yell judge.
Okay.
I will monitor it. It's just me and you, really.
Yeah. No. So. Yeah. It's a good trial run. We definitely need to gather data on a big event before we try and do this at LVO.
Yeah. So the business cards with the QR codes will be at each table. Just scan it, and I've tried it on my own, and you just scan it, and it creates basically a text message, and the text message says table number, and you just put whatever table number you're at and just send it. You don't need to write what the rules question is, because by the time you
just literally send your table. Yeah, just send your table,
and then someone will be there. You could still yell judge if you want to, if you are so inclined, but depending where we are at, we may not be in any place close to hear you yelling or see you.
It's a big hall. So,
like I said, if there's plenty of space to spread out and still have 6 feet between you and the next table. So it's
really lovely. And I will say, if you haven't started traveling yet, it's been really warm in SoCal, but this week, apparently, like Saturday and Sunday, it's going to really cool down, and
Yeah.
that means it's going to get actually, by California standards, a little chilly at night in San Diego. So make sure to pack a jacket or something, um, just in case, because especially in the mornings and in the evenings. Since if you don't know Southern California, at this time of year, it's essentially one of those mornings and evenings are actually kind of cold, and then the middle of the day is hot as balls. So you've got to
cold for California standards.
Yes, cold for yeah. If you're coming from anywhere, an actual cold temperature, you'll be like, "This is great," and you'll be
fine. Yeah. Like
you'll be a-okay.
I drove this morning and there was fog.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. I woke up this morning and it was, like, again, this is cold for SoCal. It was like 60 degrees, but by 1:00 it was 95.
Yeah.
So where I live.
You also live in the valley, so.
I do. I live in the San Francisco.
My high was only 85.
Mine was 95.
I believe. Let me see. SoCal. Yeah. So we're gonna try that out. We'll see how it goes. If it crashes and burn, all I lose is some ink and some business card paper. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah. But, it's better to know than not.
And then, but like I said, don't text any questions because they will not be answered. Just text your table number. And the little business card that I'll put it on will say that too. And it won't be the same number. Once the event's over, that number is not active anymore.
I can't send you things.
I was tempted to
totally not my starfish.
I was tempted to show an example of it, but have the QR code actually lead to an inappropriate website.
Right.
But I don't think that would have been.
I think that would have got us in trouble. That's one of those one of the best ideas, which I'd like to get made, is a T-shirt or a sweater that has a QR code on it that leads to a malware. So if anyone's trying to film you, don't take a picture of me without my permission, then, and I'll cover up the QR code.
So keep an eye out for that. Give it a try once the tournament starts, and I'll try to keep track of it. It will be easier to keep track of once I have the laptop.
Right.
Yeah, because I could do it on my phone, but it's easier if I'm sitting because at LVO someone will be monitoring it, almost like a dispatcher.
Okay. Do we get walkie-talkies?
That's part of the plan. We don't have that for SoCal, but we're hoping to have it for LVO because there's like 17 or 18 of us, and that hall is big and noisy because it's the same hall as last year. So
right. Yeah.
But if we can get this part working, then I'm hoping we can get the walkie-talkie part working. The walkie-talkie part's probably, if we get the right earpiece for it, it should be fine. Because we don't need people to respond, really. We just need people to be able to hear what table numbers need somebody.
Right to go to. Yeah.
And we'll see if we get flooded with 50 table numbers all at once, because that was one concern. What if it's the start of the round?
Right.
All the there's 10 or 15 table numbers. But from my experience, it really doesn't happen that often. And if it is,
probably going to need
deployment.
Or
where to deploy the terrain, which should be in the player packet, which is in the player packet.
Right. I hope so, because it's always this terrain set isn't in the player pack, so what do we use? I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, well, at this point it should be.
I don't know. Isn't there new terrain?
Yes, I was just going to say that. Also, there will be 30 sets of what's essentially the GW terrain. However, we are not using the GW terrain rules for this event because there's only 30, and we don't want to have people using two different sets of terrain rules in the same tournament.
So we're still
player placed terrain, but it's
right.
It's the GW terrain set, which is a lot of ruins. So that'll be interesting. I'm assuming don't hold me to it, but I'm assuming at some point we'll have enough terrain that we would be using the GW terrain rules.
One would hope, but you never know.
Have the appropriate amount of GW terrain sets, but for now, I think we only have 30. Only 470 to go.
All right, yeah.
So
Easy, light work. Light
easy
work.
peasy. So
Light
we
work.
should be fine. I'll be there. Danny will be there. Tom will be there. John will not because he's antisocial.
Yeah.
Uh, Kicker will be
Basically
there.
sums it up.
I don't know if the event's being streamed,
I don't know.
so there's nobody's lives Tom can ruin this year. For those that remember.
God, that's right. That's right. That's
It was
right.
only a year ago, Danny.
Yeah, Jesus.
It seems like forever ago sometimes.
It does, actually. It really
It
does.
seems like it because now, after the trip I'm going on, I have to buy the flight for Cherokee.
Oh, right.
So I have to talk to Kicker about coordinating that. Because after LVO, the whole cycle starts over again. So I had a nice
Sure
break.
does.
I had a nice break. After this weekend, my next break is November, December, and then I don't think I'm going to Adepticon again. So I at least
Oh, okay. Look at you taking a little break.
I don't think I'm going to RMO. I think Thomas is still doing that one. So
Okay, well, that's nice.
So I get a small break of March and April. But April is our event, so no, I don't get a break.
Oh, of course.
So we'll see. But yeah.
Oh,
so
wait. What weekend is ours again? Isn't it our birthday weekend?
I think so. It's the last weekend in April.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because I'm planning on going to Canada in the middle of the month.
That's the middle. This is at the end.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making sure. But I've also got Renaissance Fair. So,
the weekend, you have plenty of weekends for Renaissance Fair.
You say that, but here we are.
You say that's a you problem.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's the last weekend. I know that because it's my wife's birthday weekend, so I'm sure it'll be fun. So looking forward to SoCal Open and seeing everybody. Make sure you say hi as you're driving to San Diego from wherever you are, or flying and listening to this podcast. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Other than that,
sponsors.
What are you working on?
Nothing.
Oh,
I was checking work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I was getting buzzed and was work. So.
Okay. I had put together a bunch of 15mm samurai for Danny Janeski to paint. So
that's cool.
And put together, basically base because
glue them onto things. Yeah.
There's no parts to glue together, which is kind of why I like 15mm. In a way.
It was actually funny. This past weekend, I was at a birthday party, a children's birthday party, where I didn't know the parents. I'd never met them. It was purely just like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. And,
just going to random birthday parties?
No, my son knew the girl. It's just, it was always someone, like.
It's someone from like school.
His mom. It was always, no, it was his mom who would take him there, right? So that, kind of knew. But so I'm there and, it was just funny because, I'm awkwardly trying to make small talk with people I don't know. And, I was like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, well, I work at DreamWorks. I'm like, oh, do you know like Danny J, do you know Danny J, Tim Schneider? Right. Like, and he's like, yeah, actually, I know those guys. And I was like, oh, word.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, they're like, how do you know them? And I was like, do you work? And I was like, oh, no, I was like, we play tabletop games together. And they're like, oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I usually tell people, especially when I do stuff like SoCal Open and LVO and all that stuff, that I just babysit. I babysit.
I say I work security. I just work security at an event.
I babysit grown men playing with little toys. That's what I do.
I mean, slightly reductive, but not incorrect.
You see how they act.
Sometimes, yeah, it's real. Yeah.
Especially, I shouldn't say this.
No,
especially because they can't care for themselves.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. There's definitely some who match that description.
Yes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
It's still fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Otherwise,
it's a great time. I cannot wait. I have a very busy day tomorrow, but I can't wait to get there. Yeah. I'll get there late, but I'll be there bright and early, ready to go, ready to rock.
I have a busy morning, and then Tom will pick me up, and we'll probably get there at like 5 or something. He's picking me up at like 10.
Yeah, like I said, I probably won't get there until the earliest 10. I mean, that's very hopeful. Yeah, it's exceedingly optimistic. But I'm going to go straight to that bar, and don't worry, SoCal Danny won't come out until Saturday night.
We have SoCal Danny.
No, Saturday night. But yeah, what is it? Yeah, that's going to be a thing. Yeah, but I'll be there bright and early. Are we doing breakfast at Denny's? We just going to go get some McDonald's before we go to the show? Before we get there, since we need to be there by 8. Probably closer to 7:30.
Okay.
So I'm asking, are we getting Denny's?
At Denny's?
We getting McDonald's?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
What are we going to do for breakfast?
They didn't have breakfast there, huh?
No, they do. It just was really expensive and not very good.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
For the money.
We'll probably just go to like McDonald's or something. We'll figure that out. That's a lot more planning than I'm willing to make for.
Clearly.
For a tournament breakfast, Danny.
The most important meal of the day.
I know, but
all right.
We have
Who are our sponsors again?
We have options. Oh, we ready to go?
Not many. Yeah.
No, we don't. We have Denny's and McDonald's. You just named both our options.
I told you. I know. Believe me. Well,
there's that place. Remember that place we went to that one year when we had the
the really good place. But that's way up in Cardiff by the sea, right? Like that took a little bit of time.
A bit of ways.
Yeah.
It's been about a half hour. I think there's not much we can discuss because Tom is not here to talk about his army that he's going to fail with because we told him to take Votan instead.
Yeah.
Or Space Marines. I still think Space Marines. Before we go to sponsors, we predictions, Danny. Who do you think is going to take it? Open field. Dark Horse.
Oh.
Old Faithful. I didn't recognize too many names. Orcs again, 3rd year in a row.
Yeah, I say Orcs.
On the rise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Space Marines.
All right.
Because no one's going to know how anything plays.
It's true. People might get real caught off guard by.
Because of the
might get real caught off guard. Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Speaking of sponsors, like Danny just mentioned, we are sponsored by Hobby Goblins. Go to hobbygoblins.com and check out their stuff. They have a painting service, like a painting class. They also have 3D printed 40K weapons and fantasy weapons, Age of Sigmar weapons, and they will also paint them for you. And that they just started. They also have a YouTube channel. Just look up Hobby Goblins on YouTube. You can check them out. We also have the Shark Tank or Hammerhead Games. Go to hammerheadgames.net. But it's really the Shark Tank on Facebook where he posts a lot of stuff and a lot of stock that he has that he gets in, things like that. And then finally, we have Games at My Place, which was formerly known as Gameology Pasadena. Still located in the same place. Go to gamesatmyplace.com. They're slowly filling their inventory back online, so you can look and see if they have their 40K stuff up or their Age of Sigmar stuff. Or if you happen to play historicals, any of their Flames of War or Bolt Action. They have more of the major brands for historicals. If you're looking for something more offbeat or direct sales, they don't carry. They're not like some of those old school stores where they carry like everything. So much so it puts them out of business. So make sure to give them a look. You can also check them out on Facebook. Just go look for Games at My Place, and you'll be able to find them. They're actually doing their RTT this weekend. I couldn't go to SoCal RTT, but I still want to RTT. So we'll see how many they get. And I believe that is all for... Don't forget our Patreon. Just look up TFG Radio on Patreon. It gets you on our Patreon Facebook group, which gives you access to us at any time. Although you can just message us. Just
like plenty of people do. Yeah.
I have to figure out what to do with that Patreon. I have to do something. And don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube because it helps the algorithms. And I think we get something special if we get up to 1,000 subscribers. So hopefully that will help. I believe that is it. Don't forget you get your LVO tickets. At least get the badge. If not, you can at least get get on the wait list for the 40K champs. And if those tickets become available, it's first come first serve. So just keep an eye out on your inbox for that. I think that's it. Danny, nothing else?
Mm.
Nothing to add.
Play games, be nice to each other. No, just go have fun. Have a good time. Enjoy.
Don't have SoCal Danny good time.
I know. Feel free. I don't know. Yeah, no, that's true.
I don't know what
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not a role model. I never claimed to be a role model.
Oh man, me neither. But yeah, I think we'll call it there. Thank you everybody for listening and for watching, especially this shorter episode with just a 2-man crew, just like True Life crew.
Classics.
The classics.
Great, amazing, important members of our society.
Weren't they the reason they had the explicit tag on CDs?
Yep.
Oh my god. Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Since nobody buys CDs. Best Buy stopped selling DVDs.
I mean, it was bound to happen, and then I'm just waiting for in 20 years my DVD collection to be like the hipster vinyl, right? Like, oh my god, you haven't seen it on Blu-ray? You can't say you've seen this movie if you haven't seen it on Blu-ray, okay? The sound, the picture, yeah.
Toys R Us might come back.
Hey, I mean, I guess.
Scale.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Oh my god. I can't believe you brought in the vinyl. I still have my 90s comic book collection, which will be worthless forever because of the glut of that era. But I still have my folios. I still have my lenticular covers.
I mean, I think I have a sealed, still a sealed Death of Superman. So
I have an open one and a sealed one.
Yeah, same. One to read, one to hold on to.
I have my X-Men #1 that you had to get all 5 issues of that #1. You had the giant.
Oh right.
They sold one that was the giant picture, but they have one that you have to put together. All the comics put together.
Right.
I have that. I have those. All the early Image comic stuff, whether it was shit or not. I think the only good thing we got out of that was Spawn.
Yeah. I mean, Spawn's pretty cool.
That's at least still around, I think. There were a couple other ones that were pretty good, but I don't think they're around anymore. I don't know. I stopped collecting comics after a while. There's a YouTube channel I watch called Comic Tropes that talks about like the history of different comic stuffs, and that's actually pretty fun to watch. So, But anyway, so as you can tell, we are just about finished because I am rambling. So, again, thanks to everybody listening. We hope to see you soon at SoCal. Next episode will be in 3 weeks because I am taking a trip to Mexico, and this is assuming I get back.
You'll be fine, Jesus Christ.
You say that.
Well, if not, then I'll have a mea culpa.
I don't need that. I need you to get my ass out of Mexico.
That I can do.
Probably, considering where I'll be at.
Yeah, you'll be in Mazatlan. I got plenty of folk there. It'll be fun.
Yeah, well, like my wife's family there, so
it'll be fun.
But yeah, so thanks everybody for listening. I'll see you everybody either at SoCal Open. If not, we'll talk again in 3 weeks. All right. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Laters.